Week 12 of the Texans season is here, and this week the Texans take on the Tennessee Titans for the second time this year in Monday Night Football. And honestly, man, I feel bad for all the NFL fans because just last week, or what would be last week, week 11, all the NFL fans got to witness probably what's the game of the year, Chiefs versus Rams. A high-scoring game that scored a combined of 105 points. And this week, they get to watch the Texans and Titans go at it in a game that's most likely going to be a low-scoring, hard-fought defensive battle unless one of these teams decides to just break out offensively, but I honestly do not see that happening, so it'll most likely be a hard-fought defensive battle, and compared to last week's game, many NFL fans are going to be disappointed in it. So, anyways, before we get into the matchups, let's talk about some, things leading up to the game. Number one, the importance of this game. This game is really important for the Texans because, one, the Texans can go 8-3, or if they lose, they go to 7-4. That's a huge difference because at 8-3, again, you're still in the race for the first round bye, especially now that the Chiefs lost the game to the Rams. You're even more in the race now. The Steelers have a tough schedule coming up. The Patriots have 2 losable games coming up as well. The Chiefs, you guys know the Chiefs, they can very well fall off because of that's what the Chiefs do. So, the Texans definitely have a shot at a first-round bye, and if they win, they have an even better chance. If they lose, then they can probably kiss that chance goodbye. And the Tennessee Titans, if the Texans beat them, they fall back to 5-6, and they'd be 4-5 in the conference. So, the Titans would pretty much be on the way outside looking in this playoff race. The Texans would pretty much eliminate the Titans if they beat them. And of course, you gotta keep ahead of the Colts because the Colts are getting red hot. So the Texans have to, stay some games in front of them, and if they win, they will do that. And another thing, Marcus Mariota, will he play? I don't know. Marcus Mariota did get hurt last week versus the Colts. He had a little, I think it was called a neck stinger, if I'm not mistaken. I heard he was fine, but you never know with Mariota. I'm not sure if he'll play. The next thing, Dan Pease, the defensive coordinator for the Titans, I don't know if he'll be coaching because if you guys don't know, he was hospitalized before the game last week versus the Colts, which is why the Titans allowed all those points to the Colts because Mike Vrabel was the one calling the defensive plays, and as you guys know, Mike Vrabel cannot call defensive plays to save his life. And last, will Aaron Colvin and Zach Cunningham play? I don't know that yet. We'll find out later on in the week. But obviously this video comes out on a Tuesday, so I don't know if they'll play. Hopefully they do. But anyways, let's get into these matchups. Let's start off with the Titans offense versus the Texans defense. The Titans average 17.8 points per game, which is 28th in the league. And the Texans allow an average of 20.5 points per game, which is 6th in the league. So again, it's going to be a low scoring game. The Titans aren't going to put up that many points on the board. And the Titans running offense, they've gotten an average of 112 yards per game, which is 15th in the league. And the Texans run defense has allowed an average of 96 yards per game, which is 7th in the league. And the way I see this matchup playing out, I honestly don't think that the Titans should be able to run the ball. And I say should because if you guys saw last week, the game against the Redskins, Adrian Peterson had some cutbacks outside where he got 2 touchdowns. And who's to blame for that? 100% Clowney, Merciless, and Watt. In my opinion, they were playing so undisciplined. It's not even funny. They need to play disciplined in the run game. And in the past game, because Mariota is a quarterback that is very capable of scrambling, and I'm pretty sure everybody here knows that. So, Merciless, Clowney, and Watt gotta play disciplined. If they play disciplined, I cannot see this Tennessee Titans offense getting a run game going. Now, as far as the Titans passing game goes, the Titans average 184 yards per game through the air, which is 30th in the league, which is terrible. Third to last, that is not good. The Texans pass defense allows an average of 234 yards per game through the air, which is ninth in the league, which is pretty good, and they're doing better than what we Texans fans thought initially going into the year. With the group of corners we have, they've been doing good, and now they might get Aaron Colvin back, so things might get better. Now, the way I see this matchup playing out is I think Mariota will struggle to find receivers open. I really do. The Texans, these past two games, the lack of Zach Cunningham has really kind of left a hole in the defense, if you get what I'm saying. The Broncos and the Redskins both attacked the Texans by using their tight ends. Jordan Reed and some no-name tight end from Denver. Now, obviously, the Titans don't have a tight end on the roster at the moment. Well, they do have a tight end on the roster, obviously, but none of them are really good. But again, at the end of the day, a no-name tight end from Denver did expose the Texans' lack of cover linebacker. If Cunningham plays, their Titans won't be able to get anything going in the pass game. If he doesn't play, then they could possibly get the tight ends going. But I think regardless, I see Marcus Mariota struggling to get anyone open, find anyone open all day. And then when you put their pass protection into consideration, the Titans have allowed 33 sacks on the season, which is the same amount as the Texans. So for you Titans fans, if you're watching, you guys that say, well, the Texans' offensive line is really bad, so they're not going to do anything, your offensive line is just as bad, so shut it. Anyways, the Texans have gotten 28 sacks on the year, so the way I see this playing out together is Marcus Mariota will be under constant pressure all day. I think he'll struggle to find open receivers, and he won't have time to even look for open receivers. I think he'll be on his back for a good chunk of the time. I think the Titans' offense will pretty much struggle to get going. Now, let's flip over to the other side, the Texans' offense versus the Titans' defense. The Texans on offense average 23.9 points per game, which is 16th in the league, which is average, literally right in the middle of the pack, like literally. And the Titans allow an average of 18.9 points per game, which is second in the league. And I know if you guys saw last week's game, Titans versus Colts, they allowed a lot of points, but again, that comes from Mike Vrabel being the one that called their plays that game. Obviously, Mike Vrabel, we know he can't call plays on defense. He doesn't know anything about secondary or any of that. He's just a mess when he's calling plays. Dan Pease, I'm assuming he's gonna be back calling the plays defensively, so I think their defense will perform better than it did last week versus the Colts. And let's get into this Texans run game. The Texans run game, they average 122 yards per game on the ground, which is 11th in the league, and the Titans run defense allows an average of exactly 100 yards per game, which is also 11th in the league. The way I see this matchup playing out is I could see the Texans having some success on this Tennessee front, honestly. If they had some success against Washington's defensive front last week, and keep in mind, they lost to Mediocre and Zach Fulton early on, their two starting guards, and they still managed to get a run game going against a better Redskins run defense. So I think the Texans run offense will have some success against the Titans. Now, the Texans passing attack versus the Titans pass defense. The Texans average 242 yards per game through the air, which is 19th in the league, which is kind of towards more like the back end, but like still kind of middle of the pack type of thing. And the Titans passing defense allows 235 yards per game, which is 10th in the league. I really don't know how this matchup will play out. I think I've said it before. Deshaun Watson and his weapons can shred anyone, anytime, any place. But it also depends what Deshaun Watson will show up. Will the Deshaun Watson from last year show up? Will the Deshaun Watson that shredded the Dolphins show up? Or will the Deshaun Watson that struggled last week versus the Redskins show up? I don't know. Will the Texans get Demaryius Thomas involved in the offense for the first time since the first quarter against the Broncos? I don't know. There's just too many question marks here. Until I see it, I'm not going to predict anything going our way, I guess you could say, until Deshaun Watson finally has a whole consistent game again, because he hasn't really had it since that Miami game. I'm not going to predict the Texans shredding anyone through the air, so I'm just going to go out and say Deshaun Watson will struggle passing the football again. And the Texans pass protection, 33 sacks allowed, not that good, but has been better in the second half of the season. The Titans pass rush have only gotten 23 sacks on the season, which isn't really that good. But to be fair, the Titans' front seven is more about creating pressure rather than getting them sacks. So the way I see this playing out is I don't think Watson will get sacked much, but I do think he'll be under pressure to where he'll have to make some quick decisions, and hopefully that doesn't lead to any bad decisions. Hopefully. Now, the keys to the game. Number 1, Deshaun Watson show up, please. Against Denver early on, it looked like it was going to be a blowout. The Texans, Deshaun Watson, they cooled down, and the game was close. A defensive battle. Against the Redskins, the same thing happened. Deshaun Watson, can he show up for 4 full quarters and, just put these Titans away? Deshaun Watson, we need you to show up for this game. I've heard Deshaun Watson is at his best when the lights are at their brightest. Well, guess what? Monday Night Football, the lights are bright. Deshaun Watson, will you show up or no? Next thing, I said this earlier. Jadeveon Clowney, J.J. Watt, Whitney Merciless, discipline. Play discipline, because I do not want to see Deion Lewis or Derrick Henry bouncing a ball outside when it should have really gone for a 0 gain. I don't want to see Marcus Mariota or Blaine Gabbert, whoever plays, scrambling for a first down when you guys lose contain, or if you guys lose contain. So they got to play disciplined. They got to play smart football. I don't want them jumping off sides how they were doing against the Redskins. Discipline. It's important. And the last key to the game. Hold the ball right, Trevor Daniel. Kaimi Fairbairn has missed some kicks these past 2 games. And people want to blame Fairbairn, but it's on Trevor Daniel. He hasn't been holding the ball properly. So Trevor Daniel, please hold the ball right. You've been costing the Texans some precious points. Now, my score prediction. 17-16 Titans. That's what I'm going with. Again, I think it'll be a low-scoring game. I'm not sure if Deshaun Watson will get going. I'm not sure if Colvin and Cunningham play. I think if they do play, it'll play a huge factor in the Texans' favor. I don't know if Mariota will play. Not too sure if Dan Pease will be calling the plays for the Titans' defense. But regardless of what happens, I 100% believe this will be a hard-fought defensive battle. What determines the game? Trevor Daniel messes up another hold, and Kaimi Fairbairn misses a PAT. I don't know what's going on with Trevor Daniel. I don't know why he's been off. I understand he's a rookie, but he's really got to get it fixed, because it might cost us, and I think in this game against the Titans, it's going to cost us, unfortunately. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys for today. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.